I'm on OBS. There we go. There's
Woohoo!
Screenbox and the live counter, and I've just noticed in the background the stream is now up, which of course means we are live, and of course means welcome back to the Storytime Network. It is the Paradox Hour podcast once again, and we are back to
Woohoo!
discussing the Dresden Files. In particular,
Yeah.
books 10 and 11, which frankly are some of the best books in the series.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So just to put a title on both of those, book 10 is Small Favor and book 11 is Turncoat.
hmm
So just gonna quickly do a recap of where we are after last time, because last time was quite a big book in terms of events, because Harry Harry basically helps the Wraiths put down a coup in the White Court. Marcone
hmm
becomes a Baron under the Unseelie Accords, and Harry or there is no Lashio for Harry to talk to and look crazy.
That's unfortunate.
Mm-hmm. Beyond that, Molly is still Harry's apprentice. Yeah, that's about it, honestly. In terms of big stuff. So we will get started with Small Favor. I have not done a summary, but I'll do my best based on the Wikipedia summary. Harry is basically shanghaied into fulfilling one of his two remaining favors for Mab, I believe. But I believe he
Yes, I
only
believe
has two
it's
favors
two.
left at this point.
Yeah, something like that.
Which is to be her emissary and protect Marcone. Because, as it turns out, somebody has attacked Marcone.
Oh no,
The
who could it
tweets.
be? Who could it possibly be that would attack Johnny Marcone? E.
Do not do Marconi. It is
Okay,
Marcone.
Marcone.
Posey isn't here. Uh, Jack and I
Yes.
can and will team up on you on this.
Well, we will go full X-Go and give it to you, Anya.
Mm-hmm. Um,
Yeah, it's a Johnny Marcone, man.
Harry eventually discovers that the culprits responsible for the attack are the Denarians, led by good old Nicodemus.
Yep.
Fuck
Um,
that guy.
and therefore, and Harry, at the request of Hendrix and Guard, files an official complaint to the Unseelie Accords about the Denarians, employing the Archive, now 12 years old and still nicknamed Ivy, as a neutral party. Unfortunately, that is exactly what the Denarians wanted, and they use the meeting as an opportunity to kidnap Ivy.
What, a bunch of demons?
Kidnapping kids?
Backstabbing and and kidnapping kids, yeah. What a shock.
I didn't say it was, surprising. I just said that it happened.
Oh no, I'm not throwing shade on you or anything. I'm
Yeah.
just
I mean, very
Making
possibly.
sardonic observation.
Yeah, very possibly. Harry should have seen that one coming, but
Yeah.
to be fair, it's not until the next book that he really starts to think. So,
Yeah.
so Harry, with the help of, in particular, Michael and Sonia as the remaining Knights of the Cross, goes to some creepy old island in Lake Michigan to basically perform a trade. Ivy and Marcone for all the coins that they have collected so far in this endeavor, and it is quite a few, as well as Fidelicius, the Sword of Faith.
Mm-hmm.
Predictable.
The coins don't work as at first as a bargaining offer, so Harry has to up the ante with Fidelicius.
Yeah. And predictably, the Denarians betray Harry, but this time he was expecting it, and he came with his own backup, which includes Molly and Thomas on Lake Michigan on Thomas's boat, and funnily enough, Guard in a helicopter playing Ride of the Valkyries.
Subtle.
Hilarious is the word
Yes.
I would use. I find because I'm not sure if we've ever actually gotten into this in the main series. Guard is a Valkyrie.
Yep.
I believe it's covered in one of the short stories, which we will be covering in post when we're talking about Ghost Story. I think we're talking about Ghost Story
Ghost
and
Story.
Side Jobs.
Yeah. We'll probably talk about side jobs first, then Ghost Stories, but
Yes. Yeah.
In the meantime.
Unfortunately, Michael is badly injured and the copter has to retreat before Dresden can get on board, so he's now alone on the island. Also, unfortunately, throughout this whole ordeal, he has also been hunted by Summer's forces, because he's the Winter Emissary.
Not to mention he pissed off Titanium might bit by killing her daughter.
Yeah, that didn't help.
A very agonizing fashion.
That didn't help things. The Summer Emissary so far has been there's no easy or clever way to put this. They're the Billy Goat's Gruff. And oh boy, do they get big after a while. Except for eldest Gruff, who Dresden meets on the island, who is about 5 foot tall, but is also a ridiculously strong magic user.
I mean, he one-shots a giant Denarian.
Yeah. He's also got the 4 stoles from senior council members.
I guess like 3 stoles or something.
3 or 4, something like that. Basically implying that he's killed them and taken their stoles.
And Senior Council is way above Harry's weight class, so...
Yeah. Anyway, Dresden manages...
He is deep shit.
Yeah, thanks to the boat on the water, Dresden manages to escape. Michael just about survives. And frankly gets probably the best ending possible for a Knight of the Cross.
Yeah, he gets to retire, basically.
Because, while he is seriously badly injured and doesn't recover fully, he's alive.
Yeah, which is better than most other Knights of the Cross have been able to claim.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and Harry starts going out with the captain of the Wardens, Anastasia Lucio, and he has an encounter with Jake the Janitor.
Yes.
Otherwise
Jake
known
the
as...
Janitor.
Yes, otherwise known.
He has no other aliases.
Uriel.
He's just Jake the Janitor.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Otherwise known as the Watchman, or Uriel, the Archangel.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
This is a big book.
Lots of
Yeah,
shit
this is
happens in
kind
this
of
one.
world-bending shit. So you find out that at least angels really exist.
I mean, we knew that
Well, that's
already
kind of
because that
yeah.
that
The
had to be the
Denarians are
case.
fallen angels.
Yeah, that had to be the case for Denarians to be fallen angels.
True.
What we
But no,
learned.
it's like confirmed for a fact that there are real angels out there.
I mean, what this book what this book shows is that is not necessarily that angels exist, but that they are paying attention and they have got Harry in their sights.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Whether that's good or bad for Harry is yet to be seen.
At least at this point.
At least at this point, yes. That's the point of view I'm going for.
Well, the implication in this book is that it's a good thing because
Yeah.
this is
It
the
means
book.
it's like someone on Michael's side that's pretty all powerful.
This is
And
the
Harry's.
yeah. This is the book that Harry gets access to Soulfire because losing
Mhm.
Lashel in the last book basically meant that he couldn't use Hellfire anymore.
Yep.
Which means that he's lost some of the oomph that he'd been sort of relying on for the last few books. Now he's got Soulfire, and that oh boy is that a big leveler in some instances. Certainly against the Denarians.
Oh yeah, it's pretty interesting too. The way it's described in the book is like that it doesn't just pack more firepower like Hellfire does. It makes it like almost increases the presence of something that you
Yeah, it
create with
almost
magic.
makes
You know what I mean?
attacks solid.
It makes them more real. Like and I think more real means that there's no way that even a non-corporeal being couldn't feel it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like it's something that
Yeah, something
counters
like that.
kind of something that wouldn't be affected by traditional physical attacks or
Hmm.
traditional magic. I don't know. It just kind of like it is a field leveler in the sense that it kind of does away with any buffs. Seems like.
So I'm looking at the wiki. So basically, what the distinction is that Hellfire increases the power of destructive spells, which obviously Harry uses quite liberally.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Soulfire increases the power of creative spells.
Yeah, that makes sense. Power of creation versus power of destruction and all
Yeah.
that.
So yeah, basically it will amplify Harry's spells if he uses it to create something. And to be fair, if you're in the right mindset, that could be a lot of things. Because as much as um, Harry's fire spell is a destructive force, he's also creating fire.
Yep.
So yeah, it is definitely definitely a powerful force. That said, it is limited to how much of Harry's soul is left because it uses his soul as energy. So
Hence the
and
name Soulfire.
yeah, and obviously there's a finite amount of soul that a mortal has.
Mm-hmm. I think it replenishes over time, but takes a while to recover.
Yes, it does replenish, and I think Bob states, possibly falsely, that because I can't remember if this was this might have been a word of Jim that said this, that Bob might not have been 100% correct about this, but Harry does, people do share their souls with people, in everyday life. The way that you know So Harry would have shared parts of his soul with Susan, for example, and vice versa.
When they boinked.
When they were in love,
Yeah.
I think
No,
is
it's like
the
the way I understood
Is
it
it-
from what I read was that it's like pleasant human experiences are what replenish your soul. In that sense, like
Yeah.
whether it be spending time with loved ones, sexual activity, seeing a movie that stirs your emotions, stuff like that kind of stuff. It was good for the soul in the books.
Sometimes you are quite literally bearing your soul to someone.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that's a big part of this book, but it's not by no means the only part of this book. Though we will say that Harry uses a giant soulfire hand to basically Hulk Thorned Namshiel, one of the Denarians.
Mm-hmm. Also, I just noticed this. The Britishism of having favor with you fucks up the naming scheme on the cover.
Oh, is this the British cover? Oh, okay, cool. I genuinely didn't do that on purpose.
Oh, no. I didn't think you did. But I do find it funny.
I mean, when I've actually been writing it down, I have been using the American spelling of it because yeah, that's the title of it. That's really interesting that they did that. I did. Wow,
Yeah, it is weird, isn't it?
the British so pettily went, no, we're putting you in this name.
And it fucks up the naming scheme.
Eh. I think Butcher would approve, given the letter from Chandler in Changes, where let me just quickly get it up. Where is it? Where yes, in his PS he says, "Why yes, I can in fact capitalize any words I desire. The language is English. I am English. Therefore, mine is the opinion which matters." Colonial heathen. And yeah, no, fuck you guys. The language is English. You want to make your own language called American? Go for it. But you know, until you do, we get the final say on this.
I get the feeling that a
Frankenstein of
language called American would be nigh incomprehensible to other people.
Oh, it probably would, and everybody would hate it.
You know, there are plenty of words in English that aren't English.
They're English
yeah.
now. We colonized them. We goddamn colonized them.
The
Sure.
thing
you
is,
did,
I
bud.
can't even say you're wrong.
So yeah, so back to some old favor. Yeah, the Gruffs are an ever-present aspect of this book, and they are pretty fucking hilarious.
And they like show up at the most inopportune times for Harry. It seems like.
Yeah.
Like
So
it's usually when he's
they're
already
really
dealing with some other
multiple
bullshit.
times. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's basically 4 levels of Gruffs. There's the first level, the smallest level, that attack Harry while he's training, in inverted commas, Molly to make shields. By which I mean he's just chucking. He and the rest of the Carpenter children are throwing snowballs at her.
Yeah, which is better than the way Harry learned,
Yep,
which was baseballs.
Harry learned with baseballs.
Out of a pitching
Fun
machine
stuff.
turned up to the max.
We also learn in the next book that Morgan learned with rocks. So Harry is very much going away from the norm on this one.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the traditional way of thinking is if they don't want to get hit, they'll block it.
Yep. So yeah, so that's when he's first attacked. The next time he's attacked is just after Mab shanghais him into being her emissary.
Side note, Mab is currently not using her voice because she is so fucking pissed any word she says will shatter Harry's brain. So she's talking through Catchy.
Gold cat.
Oh yeah, and we don't find out quite why Mab is pissed yet.
No, it's
Yep.
it's another few books until we learn that one.
Yeah, we just know she is fucking mad.
Yep.
And when Harry meets with her,
Also-
he is understandably scared shitless, even more so than usual, if that's possible.
She does freeze his eyeballs when he makes an off remark that annoys her, so
Yeah.
he
Yeah,
is
don't fuck with
very
Mab.
Yeah, don't piss off Mab.
Mm-hmm.
There is one rule of the Winter Court. Don't fuck Mab.
Don't fuck with Mab. Fucking Mab is an
Yeah, that's
entirely
exactly what I
different thing.
said. Well, I mean, you don't want to do either, because, you know.
Anyways, yeah, no, Mab is pissed.
Yeah, but yes.
But,
so the second time he's attacked is just after Mab. Wait, no, it's not. It's not Catchy. It's Grimalkin.
Oh, Grimalkin,
right.
yeah.
It's Grimalkin.
Yeah, Catchy isn't introduced until I think it's Cold Days.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, they're both like cats, so it's hard to
No,
tell them
it's
apart.
understandable.
They're both Malks, but
Yeah.
Catchy is
So yeah, it's Grimalkin, right?
Grimalkin. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
But yes, he is attacked by Gruffs in trench coats and Tommy guns.
Yep. It was so comical the first time I ever read it. I was like, "What the fuck is this zany nonsense?"
The third time is by Elder Gruff, who has to be fair, the good manners to confront Dresden at Max first, and then attacks him at Union Station.
Oh yeah, he tries to start a brawl in Max, but since it's established neutral ground,
Yeah.
Max is McAnally's. If we haven't mentioned it before, it's a pub that's declared neutral ground by the Unseelie Accord, so no fighting there.
Yep.
And I think on top of that, Murphy was there with Dresden and managed to get him to back off.
Well, Murphy basically
on the
said
grounds that she's a law officer.
Yeah, Murphy basically said, "Look, this guy pays his taxes," to which I assume Dresden gave shifty eyes like, "Yeah, I totally pay my taxes. Pay all my taxes."
I think Harry does actually pay.
He probably does, yeah, but
he's the honorable sort who would.
He's not a Yoshi.
It's less that I think he maliciously doesn't pay them, and more I wonder if he has the money to pay them.
That's fair.
Understandable.
Certainly at some points. I imagine he probably does now, considering he's a warden and he gets a stable salary, even if that salary was set in 1959.
Ooh,
But think about it this way.
That up.
But think about it this way: it was probably a pretty hefty salary in 1959. So, I mean, at the very least, it'd be a middling salary.
Yeah,
nowadays.
it's not bad by any stretch. Harry is relatively happy with it, but he does note that 1959, inflation has gone a long way since then. It's not as good as it could have been.
Mm-hmm.
The wizard world works pretty slowly.
Yeah, but anyway, yes, Murphy says, "Citizen of Chicago, police officer, I'm going to protect him, and that means I'm going to shoot you with my iron gun."
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, they don't like iron.
Nope,
They do not like
like
iron.
And I think the Gruff also understood that Murphy does not have any reason to have to follow the rules of not using iron in a fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Because a lot of times, Fey folk will be like, "That's unfair. You're a bitch for even bringing iron to this."
yeah. Eventually, Elder Gruff catches up with Harry
At Central Station.
at Union Station. Yeah.
Union Station. Central Station's New York. Sorry.
A Union Station gets kind of demolished by one of Guard's booby traps, and then warns Dresden that the eldest brother Gruff will kill him, which leads us to Harry and eldest Gruff's confrontation on the island, which we'll get to in time. The other thing that Harry realizes is that the silver leaf Harry got as a boon from Summer back in Proven Guilty, I believe it was.
I think so.
Yes.
Is
They've
actually
been using it to track him.
yeah, they've been using it to track him. So Harry sends them on a wild goose chase by using Little Chicago, tying it to the ceiling with a rubber band,
And tossing it in a bag of catnip and having Mr. Bad at it.
basically putting it in a bag of catnip, attaching that to a rubber band, and having Mister, bat it around Little Chicago. So it will, because of the way Little Chicago works.
The magical signature of the leaf is going to pop up in varying parts around town, corresponding to the part that it hits on Little Chicago.
Basically, yeah.
Basically, it's just like pinging the radar all over the screen, so they have no idea which one's real, which one's decoy.
Yeah.
Fun fact: all of them are decoys.
Mm-hmm. Harry also dresses Thomas up as him, and uses him as a decoy at one point, which is hilarious. Because apparently Thomas is chased by elves.
Yep.
And they are the bow and arrow shooty kind.
Yep.
Thomas is like such a hilarious character when you really think about what he goes through because of Dresden.
Oh, no, I mean, he absolutely is.
Yeah, it's like tragic to the point of being hilarious, and then Harry just piles on.
What else is there? So,
the stuff at Union Station besides the Elder Gruff coming after him.
Oh,
it
yes,
was, the Hobbs, right?
The Hobbs, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were trying to attack a bunch of school kids and everything, and so they were trying to stop
Michael
that.
Carves them up.
So we never
see Michael in action. It's awesome.
Well, let's discuss that, because I don't recall us ever getting a real explanation of that, because the point is that Hobbs are Winterfell.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really.
I'm pretty sure they were sent by Mab because she figured out what the Denarius were planning.
That was what I was about to say.
Preemptively off Ivy.
Yes.
Yeah, I think she was trying to either kill or capture the archive before Nicodemus could get his hands on her.
I doubt that. I think the point was they were trying to drive Ivy away, because I don't think that Hobbs can kill or capture the archive.
You might have a point there.
Either way, they were trying to get her out of the picture.
Because
in a way that would keep Mab's hands seemingly clean.
Yes.
Because Hobbs just gonna do what Hobbs is gonna do.
We also get one of the funniest moments in the series when Michael goes full Fist of God during the Hob attack and finds a ticket agent praying, and he smiles at the woman and goes, "Of course he's there. Of course he listens." Pause. Granted, he doesn't always answer quite this quickly.
Yeah, I was just like, this was convenient. I hope you know that.
Yeah.
Like, that is just so funny to me. Just like, yes, of course God answers the prayers. Admittedly, they're not always this quick, but he does answer. This is a rare, quick prayer answer with the Fist of God.
Yep.
There's something I love about the way that the Knights of the Cross use magic in a way, but I think we can talk about it at a later date when we start learning more about the properties of the swords and everything, right? Or is this a good time to talk about it, dive in?
I mean, we do know a bit about the properties of the swords. I don't think they've been named yet, have they? Named. We know what they're whatchamacallits. I know what they are referred to as, but we
No,
don't know
no, that
what
was proven guilty. That certainly Amarakius got named as
Excalibur.
Excalibur. I'm not sure about the other ones. I would have to check on that one. Give me.
I don't think it's a huge spoiler to talk about them, what they are.
Yeah. Well, not even just the
Because,
swords, but the way that they cast magic, the way that they actually utilize their power. A lot of times it's through faith and stuff, and
Mhm.
it seems like the strength of their power corresponds to the strength of their faith and everything. So one has to wonder, because a lot of what they say is that their power comes from God, but I think the reality is more like their power comes from their faith in God, and there's a kind of a distinct difference between those two.
Well, not
So,
really, because
in
Sonya
no,
is agnostic.
yeah,
But he has
Sonya
faith in,
is the knight of maybe, which is
yeah,
hilarious.
he's the knight of maybe,
No,
like maybe this is
it's
real.
the different swords emphasize different
Virtues.
Virtues. Yeah, and that's
So
what I
It's
think it is
faith,
so Michael,
faith, hope, and love.
yeah, so
yeah.
Michael's is Amarakius, the sword of love. Michael gets that sword gets its power through the user's love, and it's not even necessarily the love of God.
No.
It is just love
It's
in
not
it
only
is just
Michael's love for
true
his
love
family,
in
but it's his
general. Yes,
general love for humanity.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Fidelicius is the sword of faith, faith in anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, strong
Mm-hmm.
enough faith in anybody, and then
I almost
Esperakius, the
mentioned
sword of
something that happens in the next book.
yeah. Don't mention that. Esperakius, the sword of hope. Sonya believes in hope and brings hope.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, we should note Fidelicius is also Kusanagi,
Yep.
Yeah.
and
I always forget the name.
Esperakius
Esperakius is Durandal.
Durandal. Yes.
All
Which
legendary
is probably
swords kind of from like the three main
Mm-hmm.
regions of ancient civilizations, I guess.
Mm.
Durandal's from the
Persian?
800, no, from the 700s. Durandal is from France or Germany.
Oh, really?
It's
Oh,
sort of one
never
of
mind that.
Charlemagne's paladins.
Yeah.
And Excalibur was around the 500s ish.
Mm.
Yeah.
Kusanagi,
So
I
old.
think, is in the same ballpark of age. The point is, all the swords come from the after the crucifixion, timeline wise.
Oh, well, of course,
And
because of what they have worked into the swords.
yeah, exactly. They each have a nail from the cross.
Yeah.
Kusanagi is a lot older, actually. I think.
Yeah, so
Probably.
I'm thinking like in Kusanagi's case, it was probably reworked with the nail into it, because it also it would be we would be loath to assume that people in Japan were able to get their hands on a nail from the crucifixion that easily.
Because
Mm-hmm.
Kusanagi, the first folkloric accounts of Kusanagi was Susanoo finding it in the corpse of Yamato no Orochi.
Yep. So it's likely reworked with, to include the nail at some point after its initial discovery slash forging.
That being said, the swords were completed as holy swords probably around 500, 400 AD.
Like I said, Durandal post dates that by quite a bit. Though I believe it's said to be forged from Hector's spear Durandana. I could be wrong.
So maybe it was a holy spear at one point.
Unlikely.
I
Okay,
know.
Hector wasn't really blessed
so
much.
not including folklore, the first historical account of Kusanagi was 688 AD.
Okay, so
Okay.
yeah. Within the first
all of,
millennium AD.
yeah. So all of them are AD era swords, basically, historically speaking.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, the swords are important, and
And it's funny because Excalibur is the only one of them that could be potentially fictional.
yeah, I mean, I think I don't know enough about Arthurian history to really say if there's an actual grain of truth in it or not. So I'm not gonna say anything. But yes, but that is why good old Nicodemus is so willing to make the bargain in the end of the book, is because
Good old tricky Nick.
yeah, Nicky and the Nickelheads, as Dresden calls them in this book.
I called him Tricky Nick because it's a nice reference to good old Tricky Dick.
Yeah. Oh, should have mentioned that in the first attack of the Gruffs, Harry gets his nose broken, which leaves him looking
Yeah,
like
and also he
looking
apparently
like a
gets
raccoon the
black
entire
eyes.
book. Yeah,
Yeah,
he looks like a raccoon for the entire books.
Yep.
it's hilarious.
Um,
Just imagining all the straight-faced conversations he has to have looking like that is hilarious.
well, there's the bit of snark that reminded me of this was when Harry was looking for Marcone and his associates. He ends up going to Helen Demeda, who is having the squeeze put on her by a goon who's seen the absence of Marcone and for some reason thinks that he can then take over.
Yep.
Which is not how it works.
No, it's really not. Basically, the goon says to Harry, "Think you're cute, huh?" And Harry goes, "I'm freaking adorable, especially with the raccoon face I've got going on here."
Yeah. Harry's snark is always like one of the highlights of each book for me.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. One of the benefits of having a first-person narrator is just the amount of snark you can fit in.
That's Jack on like a little bit sidebar. That's why I did first person voice for the short story I sent you.
Mm-hmm. I
I
mean,
mean,
that's part of why Percy Jackson works so well, because
Oh
of
yeah.
that first-person narration is just full of snark.
I mean,
And
I
then
think
you also have an excuse not to reveal everything because it can just be like, well, the main character didn't know.
yeah. I mean, to be fair, I think you can absolutely get snark into third person because Codex Alera shows that. Codex Alera has a fair amount of snark as well.
True.
It depends on the writer and depends on the character that they are writing. But
Yeah. No, speaking of first-person narration having a few fun gimmicks
yeah.
to it, there's a whole unreliable narrator bit throughout this whole book.
So
Because Mab pulled a fast one.
So throughout I would say a good 80% of this book, Harry doesn't use fire. Which, considering how much of a pyromaniac Harry has been in the previous books, that's quite telling.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, where I think Butcher did such a great job is like me personally, at least, first time reading through,
No, you don't notice
I
it.
didn't even notice
No,
it.
you don't notice it. You don't notice it. It's not something you notice until it gets pointed out to you, the same way it does for Harry. Like,
Yeah.
wait,
It's so well
shit.
done. I think this is like one of the parts that Butcher did so fucking well, and one of the
Yeah.
reasons I really, really fell in love with the series.
Yeah. So basically, Mab took Harry's blasting rod and all of his memories of using fire magic because basically the Gruffs would be able to track Harry via his usage of fire, and that's basically how Eldest Gruffs eventually finds Harry
Because he finally uses fire magic.
because he uses a big old fire spell on the island.
Yeah. On purpose, though, this time to lure him there because he knew he could equalize the playing field.
No, he didn't actually. That's not the reason he did it. That the only reason he used the fire spell was because he was fucking pissed off because he used it against let me just get her full name.
Tessa, right?
Polonius La Tessa, or Tessa Imariel.
That bitch.
The second oldest of the Fallen and the wife of Nicodemus.
Yep.
That family is by far the most fucked up family
Oh,
in the
they are.
series.
They
And
are.
that's with the
No.
wraiths in mind. That's
Yeah.
with the
I'd
wraiths
say,
in mind.
I'd say it's a very close race between those two families.
No,
Mm,
I'm gonna go with the
mm.
Denarians on this one.
Yeah. See, like the wraiths taught their kids to be sexual predators in fucked up ways, but the Denarians outright fuck their kids. Well, I guess.
I mean, so does Lord Wraith, so
Yeah, I right when I said it, I was like, wait, shit, no, it doesn't.
There's at least a base amount of affection in the Wraith family. I don't think there's even really that in
Yeah.
Nicodemus's family.
They're all just
I mean,
tools
he
for each other.
at least claims to love his daughter,
I do think
even if it's in ways that aren't appropriate.
Yeah, to be fair, I'll give him that. He does. I do think he does actually love. What's her face?
Deirdre.
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 It's Deirdre.
Deirdre. Deirdre. Okay.
Have you ever met someone named Deirdre, Jack?
No.
I have.
It's a weird name.
It's an Irish name. Or Scottish.
Yeah.
Scottish.
I'm going off of the audiobook pronunciation, so.
Ah, okay, that helps then.
And looking at Wikipedia for the wiki entry of the actual historical figure, it is Deirdre by the looks of things. So, as I said, that I couldn't remember her name, but once you said it, I was like, okay, yeah, now I remember it, because it's been a while since I've listened to the Dresden books, to be fair. But yes, there is genuine affection there. But otherwise, yeah, they've also got
really twisted and shit.
Yeah, it's a weird relationship. But yeah, I don't think he uses it purposefully. I think he just basically just loses it. Because Tessa shot Michael.
Well, if I remember, he shoots it up into the air purposefully.
No, that is before that. That is Harry's signal to get guard there, and that's not using magic. That's using the.
Oh, that was just using a flare gun.
Not even a flare gun. That was using fucking shotgun with dragonfire shells.
That's right.
Yep. No, he just straight up tries to nuke Tessa for seemingly killing Michael.
He even says in his narration that he knows that if he uses fire magic, Summercourt will track him down, and that without his blasting rod, he might not be able to actually hurt Tessa. And his response was, "I officially do not care."
Oh yeah, that's more like Harry.
But yes, he uses the dragonfire or dragon breath shells for the shotgun to signal guard. So what else? There's a. So once Guard has basically asked Harry to make this official under the Unseelie Accords, Harry has to call Lucio to make the official request. And upon hearing that it's Harry calling, Lucio's instant response is, "What's gone wrong, Harry?"
Yep.
To which Harry responds, "That's one hell of a thing to say to a man, Captain. Just because I'm calling doesn't mean there's a crisis." I suppose that's technically true. Why are you calling? Well, there's a crisis.
There's also the fun bit where when Harry does meet up with the eldest Gruff and kind of has a negotiation with him.
We'll get to the island, because that's going to be a big thing to cover. We'll get to the island because there's still a little bit to cover. because we've still got the fight at, still got a little bit for the fight at Union Station, and then the Shed Aquarium to cover before that.
Oh, that's right. The fucking. Well, then why are we talking about him shooting up the flare? Oh, never mind.
Because
That
you
was my
brought it
fault.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I realize that. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can't remember
Sure.
how we got to that bit. Like, we were talking about the Denarians, and then somebody brought that up.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So basically at this point, the Denarians are down to what, like half a dozen or so,
well,
because of all the losses they've taken over the course of both last time and this time.
again, we've got let's just go to let's do the Union Station bit first, because basically Guard does have Marcone's blood and or hair to use to track him, but obviously it's hidden away so that no other sorcerer can get to it. Harry goes to retrieve it with Michael.
Mhm.
They're attacked by the Hobbs. Michael deals with the Hobbs. Harry is then attacked by Eldest Gruff. Oh no, Elder Gruff. Sorry,
Gruff.
Elder Gruff. Yeah. And Harry uses the booby trap that Guard set to get rid of him. Doesn't
Toast
kill him
a little bit.
Doesn't kill him,
Yeah.
but oh boy, is he not getting up and walking around anymore.
Yep.
And we should point out that Harry tried to take this guy on, and it did not work.
Yeah, this guy was pretty ridiculous in terms of not just brute strength, but apparently also magical knowledge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, as we said, Mab tried to do it to drive the archive away. That is where Harry meets back up with the archive, and they arrange everything.
And Kincaid.
And Kincaid. So they go to, they arrange a meeting with Nicodemus at the Shed Aquarium, where they will talk things out. There's a big hullabaloo because, you know, Michael and Sonya. When did Sonya arrive? I'm trying to think.
I don't recall.
Sonya just kind of shows up, but that's part of the whole Holy Night thing.
I think it is. Let me remember. I think it's after Harry and Thomas first encountered the Denarians.
Yeah, I think he shows up then when it's the big bear guy.
No, that's no. That's book what? That's the first book that the Knights arrive.
Oh, never
that's
mind.
Ursiel. No, I believe.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I believe what happens. Harry and Thomas take Hendrix and Guard back to Michael's place because that's the safest place against Denarians. And find Sonya there shoveling snow, and he basically goes, my flight was cancelled because of all the snow. And Harry goes, yeah, that sounds about right.
Of course it was, yeah.
That sounds about right
the whole works in mysterious ways type thing. Yeah,
that sounds just about right, yeah.
A lot of times when Sonya shows up, it's just, I was in the area.
Yeah. That's basically how most of the Knights that's how the Knights operate. The only reason it doesn't really happen with Michael is because he lives in Chicago.
Yeah. And even then he just kind of shows up when he's needed. Yeah.
So they arranged a meeting for the Shed Aquarium. The Knights want to attend, and everyone's like, "You realize we're doing this. This is supposed to be a peaceful negotiation, and turning up with you guys is akin to like
turning up with a nuke."
Yeah, turning up with a nuke pointed at them. They aren't going to talk if you're there. Murphy also wants to be there, which is also bad, but Nicodemus allows it as long as he gets to talk to Harry. One-on-one, nobody else around for, 5-10 minutes?
Something like that, yeah.
And this is the first time I think we actually get real insight into Nicodemus.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating. It's fascinating.
It is hilariously ironic that Harry is one of the few people Nicodemus feels he can be honest around.
Yes.
It is absolutely buck fucking wild.
I have a theory on that particular bit, and it has to do with later books, so I can't talk about it now.
Mm-hmm.
So give me a second, because this is I'm just getting it up because it's really important. Because this has implications for like basically like the rest of the series, let alone the rest of the book. Here it is. So basically, Nicodemus starts talking about the force that Harry, Ebenezer, and I believe now Ramirez have noted is wandering around in the background and pulling strings. Harry calls it the Black Council. And Nicodemus, funnily enough, for a guy who's working to enact, apocalypses, multiple apocalypses, does seem to be set against this enemy.
Yeah, he does seem to be on the up and up with regards to this particular foe.
And he takes it very badly when Harry tells him that there was a Denarian who took part in the Black Council attack on Arctis Tor in proven guilty.
Yep.
Yeah,
Takes it very, very badly.
Yeah, no, he's pissed.
And that guy was none other than, wasn't it Thorn Namshiel that did that?
Or
I'm
Namshiel,
not
yep.
sure when that's revealed,
Yeah,
but
and
yes,
he was at the aquarium.
It's
but,
believed
yeah.
to be Thorn and Namshiel, yes.
Yeah. Thorned?
I would
Thorn.
again, I think I'm taking it from the audiobooks. I believe it's Thorn and Namshiel.
They try to use Old English pronunciation
yeah,
on
I
it, or
feel
what?
like that. I feel like that sounds more appropriate than just Thorned Namshiel. Thorned Namshiel sounds like an old name.
Fair enough, I suppose.
It sounds more menacing than it actually is, though.
No, he's pretty
Yeah.
menacing, to be fair. It's just that Harry fucking blindsided him with Soulfire.
Mm-hmm.
I also love that he, like, after he takes the coin from Namshiel, or no, that was an earlier book. But yeah, I love that when he takes the coin from the original guy who had Namshiel, that he like breaks the dude's kneecaps and shit.
No, that's
No,
Cassius.
different.
That's Quintus Cassius.
Cassius.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
Cassius is a different
Cassius
fallen.
is
I
Snake
don't
Boy.
remember which one.
Snake Boy. I
could've
don't
sworn that
remember
was-
his actual name.
Oh. I
I
do
remember
love
either.
that kind of shit though. that
Yeah.
was hilarious to me.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
But yeah, Thorn Namshiel got his due as well, I think.
Well, yeah, he basically got crippled by Harry's beatdown at the aquarium. Because Harry, while talking with Nicodemus, suddenly realizes that, Nicodemus has another game, and it's to get to get to Ivy.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
Yep.
and basically they are, how they do it is they basically enact a giant hell circle that blocks the regeneration of magical energy rather than the actual use of magic. So you can use magic, but you can't basically.
You're just limited to a very finite supply.
You're limited to what you have left, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Within you, and then the limited amount that's in the enclosed space. There's no recouping of that energy.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was the period at the end of that sentence.
Lovely. Anyways.
So Harry puts the beat down on Thor and Namshiel. He manages to warn Kincaid in time. Kincaid starts basically sniping Denarians.
Mhm.
And then
They go kind of. It's kind of a diehard thing with Kincaid.
Mm.
Like he kind of goes die.
Yeah. Not sorry. Ivy is then, but Kincaid can't take on all of the Denarians. So Ivy is attacked by 8 Denarians, and she fucking holds them off.
She kind of whips some ass. And this
Yeah.
is like, mind you, this is while the magical energy supply is limited, and she's slinging out some wild magic, multiple spells at the same time,
Yeah.
consecutively, and managing all of it so precisely that
Yeah.
she was not wasting anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is made a point in Harry's narration there.
Yeah.
So she's a badass at like fucking 11, 12 years old.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I forgot. She would have been fine because she basically just veiled herself and they couldn't find her. The only reason she showed herself was because Tessa threatened Harry.
Oh yeah, that part, yeah. And that's kind of like, that's one of the good and bad things about Harry's relationship with the archive.
Yes, the
It's
Denarians used it against her.
Yeah.
Um,
That's one of the drawbacks. There are more drawbacks brought up later, but we don't need to talk about that now.
yeah. But yeah, she basically, she holds her own. It is basically the only reason she gets taken down is because they use a gas attack.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Still a little kid.
Yeah. So from there, as we said, Harry makes the deal with Nicodemus because at this point, as Jack said, there are very few Denarians left. They are basically down to half a dozen.
Half a dozen, yeah.
5.5.
And
5.5, because that 6 includes Thor and Namshiel, and he's not up to doing much.
Yeah. Harry and Co. have 11 of their coins, so they kind of need that to replenish their numbers.
Yeah. So let me try and remember off the top of my head who they have left. They have Nicodemus, Deirdre, Tessa, Rosanna, Thorn and Namshiel, and Magog. Are the 6 left. Everybody else has been taken out.
Yep.
It's also important that they need the coins because what they're basically trying to do with Ivy is recruit her.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't do that if they don't have the coin.
They need coins and they don't have any.
Precisely.
So then we get to the island. Nicodemus tries to double cross. Harry double crosses right back. They nearly manage to make a clean getaway until Tessa shoots Michael. Harry is alone on the island, starts running. Another funny moment in the middle of that is comes across one of Nicodemus's tongueless mooks. And Harry just basically yells gobbledygook at him and then flips him off and keeps running.
And his reasoning is, who's he gonna tell?
He does note that this is an occasion where cutting the tongues out of your goons is a really bad idea because
they can't communicate very well unless they're like visual sight or they have like they can text, you know.
Mm-hmm. And this is in the dead of night, so
none of that would work.
Yep, gets to the dock. Magog finds him. Magog is smacked down royally by Eldest Gruff.
Then Eldest Gruff finds Harry.
Then Eldest Gruff finds Harry, but Harry manages to stop him by using the leaf pin. The leaf pin, which also grants Harry a boon from the Summer Court.
And guess what he asks for?
A fucking donut. With like the red, white, and blue sprinkles, right?
icing of white and sprinkles. I don't think he specifies what color the sprinkles are. He just says a
Yeah.
white icing donut with sprinkles.
Mm.
Because the point is that once that day ends, the matter is done because Harry has gotten Marcone out, and so that means the fight there is done. It just just has to wait until sunrise, and basically Harry asks him to get this donut, and the Gruff goes, "This might take a while, you know." Oh, really? What? How sad that would be. That the time on our conflict would run out while you're doing this job.
Yep. Eldest Gruff was actually okay with doing it too. He actually, I think he kind of found some respect for Harry during their conversation and the whole thing.
Well, yeah, he realized that Harry had already solved the situation, so it was basically just a
farce at this point.
Basically, yeah, it was just going through the motions. B, this is revealed a little later, but I don't think it's too much of a spoil to say. He is very much a reasonable authority figure in the Summer Court.
Yeah, he's a dope character.
Yeah, and C, yeah, he does realize that Harry is just a decent dude.
I think he's essentially like the Merlin of the Summer Court.
Well, no, he's basically the right hand of Titania.
Yes.
Yeah, no, like that's what I mean. Like, not in terms of the Merlin and the White Council, in terms of the Merlin to King Arthur.
Ah, yes.
To an extent,
yeah, if that makes sense. Yeah, he's like the sorcerer expert guy.
In later books, we'll get a better comparison point. Certainly with the Winter Fae.
No, I'm pretty sure Leah's rough equivalent to Gruff.
No, it's a different character.
Oh, okay. You mean that one? Okay.
Wait, is it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Leah is a Gruff's equivalent.
It might be, yeah. So there's basically you've obviously got the queens, and then
there's a dichotomy usually.
You've got two figures underneath both queens. I can't remember the sort of ordering there, because Leah is one of them for the Winter Court. Eldest Gruff is one for the Summer Court.
And
this is discounting the knights and maidens, by the way.
Yes.
Or is Redcap under the lady?
Redcap is not that high up in the hierarchy. Redcap is a goon.
Yeah.
A dangerous goon, but a goon.
A particularly elite goon.
Oh, the knights. It's not
the knights.
Why wouldn't it be the knights?
Because they're a different ball game. I'm talking about actual Fae.
Oh.
I'm trying to remember exactly. No. E something. Ah, yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah, found it. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Again, I don't think we'd necessarily get to it, or is it this book that we can say it?
Let's not get hung up on the details.
I'll wait until Cold Days. I'll wait until Cold Days, because that's when we can really get into it.
Yeah, that's when the hierarchy of the Fae really gets kind of fleshed out.
That's when we really get into the hierarchy of the courts. So yeah, and now this is the really fucking great bit. So Harry tries to use the boat that he, Michael, and Sonia got to the island on to escape. Nicodemus is there waiting for him. Nicodemus asks Lashiel to restrain Harry. Nicodemus
Only
doesn't know.
Lashiel's not there.
Lashiel's not there anymore.
Yep. And Nicodemus doesn't realize this until it's far, far too late.
Nicodemus gets within grappling range. Harry fucking takes him down, throws him over the
side of the boat,
side of the boat, and starts hanging him with the noose. The noose that, if you remember from Death Masks, that makes him functionally immortal. That protects him from any harm. Except
from
anything
itself.
but the noose.
Except from itself.
Yep.
Harry damn near kills Nicodemus. The only reason he doesn't is because Deirdre turns up, and it is better for Nicodemus to be alive and in the water, forcing Deirdre to retrieve him, than for him to be dead and Deirdre to be able to come after Harry.
Yeah, because on the one hand, haha, delay. On the other hand, shit, pissed off psycho lady with powerful fallen angel in her head.
Yeah.
Blood rage.
So Harry managed to get far enough out to reach the water beetle, where Thomas, Molly, and Murphy wielding Fidelicius.
Not actually wielding, just kind of unsheathed it a little bit.
Yeah, brandishing it.
Takes out.
Not even. Barely brandishing it.
Basically gets the Denarians and then get their goons to retreat.
Back the fuck off.
It is then that Harry goes to the hospital, sees how Michael is doing, goes to the chapel, and starts basically letting loose at God. Because this is something that we didn't mention. You want to know how basically how the Denarians were enacting, because they enacted 2 of these Hellfire circles. One against Marcone, one against Ivy. They used Lucifer to do it. A.K.A. the devil. Satan. Prince of Hell. Whatever you want to call him. He took the field.
In an indirect way, but yes.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, he wasn't there in person, but he supplied his power, which is far more what's the word?
Far more than he's normally allowed.
Yes, he shouldn't be allowed to do that.
More interference.
Yeah.
Because the way the hierarchy works on the power scaling in the world of the Dresden Files is the more powerful of a being you are, the less you're able to involve yourself in the world.
Mm-hmm.
The less you're able to directly and willfully influence mortals, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you cannot. There's only a certain extent to which you can affect free will.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Harry gets understandably pissed at this, and then is interrupted by, as we said, Jake the janitor, who explains that maybe God did balance the scales from Lucifer's interference. He just didn't do it as obviously as Lucifer did.
Not as flashily.
And yes, it is then revealed by Mab, who appears that was Uriel, who is essentially the spy master for the Archangels.
Undercover like shit.
Yeah, and is the one who gave Harry Soulfire.
And yep, basically Harry was the evening of the scales, was Soulfire given to Harry.
Basically, yeah.
So Harry's now a game piece.
Harry was always a game piece. He's now just more of an overt one for the White God.
That's true. Yeah. And, I think Harry also, like, the irony of it is not lost on Harry because his whole vibe is just depressed, grungy.
Well, Harry's take on religion is that he does believe in God, but he doesn't follow him because he doesn't respect any religion that would take him.
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Which is a very sad bit
He's
of
got a very
self-deprecation.
self-deprecating.
It's very sad and self-deprecating taking it. But the point is
And
that
if this is the Christian God, maybe that's why he loves him.
But the point is that Harry has been snarking about the irony of Christianity ever since he learned that Sonya is fucking agnostic.
Yeah.
Again, it's hilarious because again, Harry outright calls Sonya "Oh Night of Maybe." In fact, there's a moment where in a later book where Sonya does say, I think it's like "Oh God" or "Dear God" in Russian, and Harry just says, "There's some real irony in you using that, oh Night of Maybe."
Yeah. Sonya's the type to just take whatever help he can get.
I mean, just Sonya's whole deal is hilarious because, again, in a later book, I don't think it's a spoiler to say he turns up to save someone, and like after they'd been praying for God, it goes, maybe this is all just a coincidence.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a coincidence I
Sonya.
arrived in your time of need, something like that.
Sonya's like a doubting Thomas. It's like you always need someone like that though to reaffirm faith and reaffirm hope, right? Because maybe can be good and maybe can be not so good, right?
Yeah. But yes, we should also note that throughout this book, Lucio has been flirting with Harry. Not that he realized it at first, which was also hilarious because Thomas had
He is
to.
a dense motherfucker.
And reminder, Lucio has been body swapped into like a college age girl's
basically,
body.
yeah.
That was from Deadbeat.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, Thomas basically has to tell him after seeing some of the flirting, dude, she's hitting on you. For God's sake. And again, a hilarious line from that is Thomas going, moron, thank God Nicodemus is a man. Because yeah, it's real good that some of these villains are men, because otherwise Harry wouldn't stand a chance.
That's a fact. Poor Harry.
Yeah, and
chivalry will kill him one day.
And they end the book with those two going on a date.
And maybe not doinking afterwards. I don't know.
They go on a date.
Something.
They eventually doink. We know they do. They eventually have sex.
Banging your superiors, Dresden? How rebellious of you. But yeah. It is a solid book, honestly. Mostly like the blasting rod plot point was what really made me fall in love with the book.
No, it's a great point.
It's a great written mystery plot. I don't know.
And I just before we move on to Turncoat, there are just a few things I want to make note of. Really heartwarming moment, especially given their relationship in previous books, is that when Harry arrives at the hospital.
Oh, the thing with Charity?
Yeah, Harry is willing to leave, and Charity basically forces him to stay.
She says family can stay.
That family stay, like, Harry. He would stay for you. And that is exactly right. He would stay. Michael would stay. Yeah. And again...
It's clear that Charity still doesn't like Harry and doesn't like
I don't think...
the kind of trust nature that he puts Michael in. But
no,
like,
I don't think we're even
family.
I don't think we're even at that point. I think it's definitely not as adversarial as before, but I think there is a genuine respect between the two of them now. Harry respects Charity for her devotion to her family. Charity respects that Harry is trying to do the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think first and foremost, like the reason that she invited him to stay is because she knew that Michael would want him to.
Oh yes, there is
Yeah,
absolutely part of that. I
yeah,
wouldn't be shocked if part of the reason was also so that he could help console Molly. Was also
that
there.
too. Yeah, because I think that like even earlier on in the books when Molly's first introduced, it's like understood that Molly looks up to Harry and Molly
Mm,
sees Harry as like a hero of some
yeah.
sort to her.
And
So and there's
that was part of the reason why Charity didn't like Harry,
yeah.
especially considering Charity knew Molly was at risk of becoming a wizard.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's in the background still.
Yeah. So again, now that that's all out in the open and Harry is actually teaching Molly properly
Hmm.
and saved Molly's life on multiple occasions during proven guilty,
Oh yeah.
I do think there is a genuine respect there. Um,
Also on top of that, like part of being her teacher is that Harry's life is in danger if
mm,
she goes off the rails. So
yeah.
like he's got
Hmm.
just as much of a stake in it as Charity at this point. Maybe
Yeah.
not quite so much, but
Mm,
pretty close at this point.
yeah. Another thing I want to mention is that when Michael woke up after his surgeries, first thing he does is ask if Harry is okay.
I fucking love Michael. Michael is by far my favorite
Mm,
character in Dresden Files because he's just like so. I don't know. He's like Superman, Uber Boy Scout, whatever you want to call him.
mm.
But he just like he's written casually too.
Look,
Like he's still human.
I have my I have severe issues with organized religion in general, if not
Oh, me too. Don't
religion
get me wrong. Yeah,
overall.
I'm with you there.
But Michael is the best depiction of a Christian I think I've ever seen.
Yes, exactly. He is, I mean, as someone who is raised Catholic in the Catholic Church, he is exactly what I would picture being like exactly what Jesus wanted from us. Like the
Hmm.
exact kind of person Jesus would want us to be. So I do think that was kept in mind for his character. And I
Yes.
don't know how Butcher did it, but he did
Mm,
a damn good job writing it, I think.
yeah.
Within the confines of his world even too, he made it make sense in the story and he made it a very good depiction of what a Christian should be.
Yeah.
He fucking slayed a dragon too, so like
Mm.
you can't ignore that. That's
And
so
we should
classically.
point out this is capital D dragon. There are two types of dragons in the Dresden universe. I don't think we
Yeah,
ever really established this. There are two types of dragons. There's the lowercase d dragon that are basically, the European style dragon. Then there's the capital D dragon that are the Eastern version of dragons who are, forces of
like
nature.
deities.
They're basically
Yeah,
they are basically deities. They are on a lower scale than say than the white god, but they are on the, lower scale G god scale.
I feel like I keep bringing this up whenever we're talking together, Mill, but I can't help but think of slime and how it's like there's a difference between true dragons and like
Mm.
just other dragons. Like one's
Yes.
an animal, the other is like basically a godlike life form.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it kind of applies here too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
there's the reptile and then there's the spiritual existence of a dragon.
yeah. So, and yes, Siriothraks, the dragon that Michael killed, was a capital D dragon.
Oh yeah,
As
big
is
time, big shot.
as is Mr. Pharaoh from Grave Peril, we should point out. But there is also a scale on these capital D
Ferrovax,
dragons.
right?
Ferrovax, yeah. Siriothraks was the weakest of these dragons. Ferrovax is the strongest. And Harry snarked at him.
Yep. I think Ferrovax likes Harry a little bit though.
Maybe.
I think he likes the attitude a little bit. I don't know, like something about like a lot of these high level immortal beings in the Dresden universe is I feel like they always get so much subservience that when they get Harry snarking at them, it's like refreshing for them. They're like,
I
oh
mean,
shit, someone's actually willing to like speak up at me.
Sometimes they are not fans of the impertinence.
There's one in the
Sometimes not,
there's one in the most
but I think
recent
there's like
Dresden
a
book that I
bemused.
can't wait to get to because it is so funny. It is
Oh,
so
is
funny.
it's the D man?
Yes.
Oh
It's so funny.
yeah.
But the last thing I wanna talk about, and again, it plays into religion is as is any book with the Knights of the Cross and the Denarians plays a big part in this book. But an especially big part in this book, considering that yes, Uriel moves some pieces around in the background. And I just want to read basically the main part of the conversation Harry had with Jake the janitor / Uriel.
Mm-hmm.
So he basically asks Harry, "You got a friend in here, huh?" And says, "It's okay to be mad at God about it, son. It ain't his fault what happened, but he understands." Harry responds, "Maybe he does, but he doesn't care. I don't know why everyone thinks he does. Why would he? I mean, this whole universe, right? All those stars and all those worlds. Probably so many different kinds of people out there we couldn't count them all. How could God really care about what's happening to one little person on one little planet among a practically infinite number of them?" Jake responds, "Well, I never been to much school, you understand. It seems to me that you're assuming something you shouldn't assume, which is that God sees the world like you do, one thing at a time from just one spot. Seems to me that he is supposed to be everywhere, know everything. Think about that. He knows what you're feeling, how you're hurting, feels my pain, your pain, like it was his own. Question isn't how could God care about just one person? Question is, how could he not?" And then he
Hey
does.
Jack, we're getting a lot of background
Yes.
noise from your fans. All your huge fans.
Sorry.
Um,
Oh, quiet you.
and yes, he then goes on to say, "Maybe one archangel invested his strength in the situation overtly and immediately. Maybe another one was just quieter about it, thinking long term. Maybe he already gave you a hand." At which point he disappears and leaves behind a copy of The Two Towers, where bit of dialogue is underlined. "The burned hand teaches best."
Oh yeah, because Harry's left hand, or was it, is still like beef jerky.
I don't. It's not even necessarily that.
No, it was injured again at a different point. His hand's been recovering.
His
Been
hand is
recovered for a hot minute,
recovering.
I believe.
I still think he's wearing the glove on it. I think I think when he says the burned hand, it meant the sigil that was burned into Harry's hand by Lashiel's coin.
Yeah.
Because Harry is confused as to what it means, and then Grimalkin, on behalf of Mab, says that your experience with resisting the shadow of the fallen one has garnered the respect of the Watchman. So
That line is so fucking raw.
yeah. So
Mhm.
I think that's what the burned hand signifies. It's the sigil. But that is that's everything I've got to basically cover.
Yep. Oh wow, we're already pretty far in. We should probably move on to the next book.
We should, yes.
Yeah, this is good timing here to do the show.
This one is quite the doozy too.
Moving on to Turncoat. So, Harry is going along with his day when a wounded Warden Donald Morgan shows up at his apartment asking for protection from the other wardens. He reveals that Morgan was framed for the murder of senior council member Lafortier. and is now being hunted by the wardens for it. Harry has to try and figure out who actually did it. While also basically hiding that he knows where Morgan is, and being hunted by a Nagloshi, a skinwalker, a shape-shifting creature from Native American folklore.
Exactly what all the memes are about.
And put it this way, Morgan has fought one before. The only way he beat it was by tricking it into a nuclear weapon testing ground and then leaving as the nuke went off.
Yeah, I believe it was the Trinity testing ground.
Something like that, yeah.
Morgan's old.
He's over 100, yeah. It's very much then becomes apparent that House Wraith has a hand in this. Though it is not actually Lara is not involved. It is actually her cousin Madeline Wraith.
Madeline, yeah.
Trying to make a power play. And she's kind of a ditzy bitch too.
She is. She's not as smart as she thinks she is.
Yeah.
And Harry basically realizes that there has been a lot of manipulation going on, and there are a lot of pieces in play, and he has to think smartly about this. So what he does is he goes to the... should also point out that the Nagloshi has kidnapped Thomas and is holding him hostage.
Before that,
in return for Morgan.
Yeah, the Nagloshi's trying to negotiate for Morgan because he wants to kill and eat Morgan.
Yeah.
Also, the first encounter Harry has with the Nagloshi, he has to go to the Alphas for help, right?
We'll get to that when we get into it in more detail. This is as base a summary as I'm trying to do based on doing it very quickly.
True.
So basically,
there's a lot of detail.
Basically, Harry realizes that there are three main parties in play here: the Council, the White Court, and the Nagloshi. Four parties, because also the Black Council.
So the Black Council seems to have some fingers in a couple pies here.
Yes.
Yeah. I think the prevailing theory throughout this book is that the Black Council sicked the Nagloshi on Morgan.
Yep.
So what Harry does, realizing that he needs an edge, he goes to the creepy ass island. And we didn't go into this in small favor. The island that the Denarians were on is a deserted island that
isn't even on any of the maps.
Isn't on any maps. Is the convergence of, I think, something like 3 ley lines.
Yeah.
And
it's basically a Bermuda Triangle in the middle of Lake Michigan. Planes don't really work. Like, they indirectly, boats and planes will direct around it.
Yeah, but it did have people on it. The island drove them mad.
Yep.
Harry goes back to that island and performs what is called a Sanctum Invocation and bonds with the spirit of the island.
Which he has felt every time he's been on the island. And its basic leaning is get the fuck out, is kind of usually what the message it gives to people.
Demon Reach appears as a 12-foot tall, cloaked and robed figures.
Yeah, he named it Demon Reach too.
He named it Demon Reach, yeah.
And names have significance here.
But basically, by bonding with it, it gives him
Genius Loci.
Yes. No, that's
kind of what it is.
That's what Demon Reach the thing is. It gives him a limited form of Intellectus. Basically, if he thinks about it on the island, he knows what's happening on the island.
it's near omnipotence. The only difference being that he doesn't passively know everything. He has to actively think
Yes.
about it to know it.
And it only
He has to
covers
ask the question to get an answer.
it only covers the island because they tested out by
Yeah.
basically him being on the island going, "Who killed Lafortier?" Ah, nothing. Damn, worth a try.
Yeah, it's limited entirely to the island. Yes.
Yes, but that's still a significant edge.
Yeah. It's
So
a
then-
great home field advantage if he ever fights there.
Yep.
Again,
Which he then does because
Yep.
he stores Morgan on the island and then calls the White Council, the White Court, and the Negloshi to the island. There's a whole big hullabaloo which involves.
Is this the one where Ancient Mai shows up?
Ancient Mai does show up, yeah.
Yeah.
Where they
This is
where they're attacked by agents of the Black Council. Harry takes on the Negloshi and does really well against it, but
Listens to Wind takes the cake.
It is eventually driven off by by Wizard Listens to Wind. They then go back.
Love that guy.
He's great.
Unfortunately, they don't manage to catch the perpetrator there. So Morgan surrenders and goes to trial. Except that Harry has finally started to use his brain. Because he knew...
Harry is finally accessing his mind brain.
So basically his plan here was that he basically called the White Council up saying that he had an informant that had told him that Morgan was not responsible and had told him who the true killer was. The Black Council spy in the White Council heard this and had to go to Chicago to check on their spy.
Harry didn't actually know who the spy was. This was a lure.
This was a lure. In doing so, they had to use the one quick way to get from the White Council headquarters in Edinburgh to Chicago, which is where Harry set up a private investigator and Mouse to watch the entrance with a camera.
The private investigator, by the way, he became acquainted with because that private investigator was initially hired by Madeline Wraith to spy on him.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
He sabotages BMW using Toot Toot and his buddies, which is they have a little cameo in here where they just help him kind of fuck with the private investigator, and then Harry hires him on.
So yes, Harry now knows who the killer is thanks to this, and reveals it at Morgan's trial. Spoiler alert, this is big spoilers for pretty much every book prior to this. Samuel Peabody is a high-ranking clerk who's basically been the senior counsel's secretary the entire series.
Yeah.
He's been constantly there, but always like half in the background. Like he'll just have a couple lines, or like, oh, you need to sign this form or that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very different kind of the butler did it type thing.
Yeah. In fact, actually, he tries to have Harry sign something at one point, to which Harry refuses to.
He's basically been influencing everybody, certainly the senior council, if not other people, very subtly by using mind-altering ink. Everyone's got to sign something at some point, but except Harry, because, Harry is Harry.
Fuck the rules, Harry.
And basically, he's been subtly pushing the council in directions that they maybe wouldn't have chosen to do before.
Yeah, he's been very subtle about his manipulations.
Yep. I mean, he was dealing with the best wizards in the world, so he had to be.
Yeah. Peabody is killed while escaping by Morgan, but Morgan is unfortunately bleeds out from his previous wounds. But also reveals that it was actually a mind-whammied Lucio who killed Lafortier, and Morgan just protected her.
And in fact, Harry finds out not too much later.
Yeah, that Morgan was in love with Lucio the entire time.
Well, that, and more importantly, that Lucia's relationship with Harry was entirely founded on the mind control thingy.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
And this is the official formation of the Grey Council, which is the group that Harry and Ebenezer forms to fight against the Black Council in secret. Because the White Council is still,
Yeah, off screen, Ebenezer's been trying to build a small army to fight the Black Council.
Mm-hmm.
So
but yes,
there's that.
We don't know at this point in the series. We don't know who else is a member besides Harry and Ebenezer.
Harry, Ebenezer. We can suspect that Ramirez is, considering Harry talked to him at the end of White Knight. It's also implied, if not stated, that the Gatekeeper is a part of it as well.
Yeah,
it would not be
Rashid.
Yeah, Rashid is great. Rashid also gets.
Rashid could have an entire spin-off series. I think, like he's got to have some interesting stories.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, this is a really interesting book. This is also a very funny book.
Yeah, surprisingly so. Part of that comes from just Harry and Morgan being forced to interact with each other more often than usual.
Yeah. Literally,
and there's also the multiple times where Harry walks in on
a
near-death scene in his apartment.
I was gonna get to that, but so literally one of the first lines is Harry opens his door, finds Morgan there, and goes, "Oh, super."
Because Mouse has him pinned with his
This is right
his throat out.
This is right at the start of the book when Morgan is just arrives, says the ones are coming, hide me, and then collapses.
Oh, that part, yeah. Never mind. I'm thinking of a different
part. Harry keeps Morgan in his apartment and has Mouse and Molly, more often than not, basically keeping an eye on him and making sure he doesn't die in the interim. And yes, they keep.
Doesn't he have a confrontation with Molly?
Morgan and Molly keep clashing because Morgan is Morgan, and Molly is
Molly.
Well, Molly is a reformed warlock, which is everything that Morgan hates, and I think it's the second time that an absolutely hilarious statement of, "I can't believe I'm about to say this, so think real careful about where this is coming from. Have you people ever considered talking when you've got a problem?" And Mouse immediately protests, and Harry goes, "Not including you."
Yeah. Can't exactly talk.
Mm-hmm.
Except for that one time. Oh man, I can't wait for that.
This is also the book that introduces Binder, who I absolutely adore.
Binder is great. They describe him as Cockney, right?
He is Cockney. I'm going to be honest, I absolutely imagine him as Mark Sheppard.
Oh yes, I can see that. I could definitely, that I've imagined him as similar. Yeah, I imagine him as like Tom Hardy's depiction of Solomon's in Peaky Blinders. So similar.
Mm-hmm. Now, Mark Sheppard is.
For those who don't know, Mark Sheppard is best known for playing Crowley in Supernatural.
He's great.
I mean, the reason why I imagine him as Binder is because of his role as Badger in Firefly.
Oh yeah, that works too.
Because again, he plays a Cockney geezer in that show.
On Cockney.
That's not Cockney.
I don't know what is.
I can't do a Cockney accent. I will point that out now. I cannot.
But you can recognize one for sure.
I can absolutely recognize one.
Like a Chav accent that Kaido does sometimes.
Sort of. There is a difference. Because Chavs can be from any part of England.
Yeah, it's just about
Um,
how they use the language, not about
yeah.
how they sound while they use it.
But yeah, there's another absolutely hilarious part where Binder Binder's main ability is to summon demonic mooks
Mm-hmm.
and bind them to his will
It's like
per
Agent
the name.
Smiths.
Yeah, and he tracks Harry down to where he's hidden Morgan, which is a basically a storage container. Um,
Or like, yeah, it's
and
like
basically,
a mass storage unit
yeah, and
park.
basically has him tracked and uh, tells Harry to tell Binder where Morgan is, and so Harry goes, "Okay, he's right behind you." Dresden, we have a bit of banter going between us. We're both here in a moment where neither of us wants to act rashly, and that's all good fun. It's one of the little things that makes the day more enjoyable. But don't do me the incredibly insulting disservice of assuming that I'm a bloody moron. I'm not. He's about 40 feet behind you, in a wheelchair. Binder gives Harry a gimlet stare, then rolls his eye and shoots a brief glance over his shoulder, and then does a double take because Morgan is sat in his wheelchair about 40 feet away, shotgun in his hands.
Yep, one of my favorite moments of the book.
Absolute hilarity.
Uh,
Yeah, Binder's hilarious because of that like banter mentality with him. Is he just he thinks he's in a movie most of the time, I think.
well, Binder's an arch mercenary, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's similar to Kincaid in that way, where he'll just do anything for money,
Hmm.
but he's on like a much lower tier than Kincaid.
And, you know, Binder knows when to fold them as well, is the other thing.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
another. Yeah, hence I say he's on a much lower tier. It's because he knows he's very pragmatic.
Yes,
He
he is.
knows where he is in the pecking order.
But he's also very smart.
Yeah,
Mhm.
part
He's
of
surprisingly
he knows where he
smart.
is in the pecking order. Yeah, very
So
pragmatic.
while
Very
he is
practical.
magically a one-trick pony, he is
Yeah,
still definitely not to be taken lightly.
he is the exact opposite of Jack of all trades, master of none. He is only good at one thing, and he is damn good at that one thing, and that is summoning Agent Smith from the Never Never.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That is how Harry describes it, isn't it? It's just summoning Agent Smith.
I don't know if that's exactly how Harry describes it, but that's how I imagine it at least. They're all faceless goons in suits. So it's like basically and all they can do is really like all they can really do is like hold guns and shoot them basically
Mm-hmm.
and then grab at people with their weird mouth hands.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, an example of his cleverness is that Murphy manages to arrest Binder, um, and during an interrogation, manages to steal some of his hair. Upon being released, Binder instantly shaves all of his hair and has a shower before meeting back up with his employer, which is Madeline Wraith. Unfortunately,
Understandable.
again, Harry is acting quite cleverly this book and is subcontracting out a lot of his work
To the private investigator.
to the private investigator. Yeah,
Yeah, that guy got just so much money over the course of this book.
Well, it's also like because Harry schooled him first and then
Mhm.
kind of wrecked his car, so he felt bad about it. So he gave him a ton of business as like an
Yeah.
apology. But it was also convenient for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I actually thought that the private investigator character, I forget what his name was, but I remember him being like kind of an interesting character, like pretty cool, pretty like well written for like the minor character that he is in this book.
Yeah, he's a cool dude.
Yeah.
He used to be a cop, and I believe he was basically drummed out for investigating corruption.
Mm.
Yeah. So he had like a good intention to him.
Hmm.
Like he had like a good character to him.
Yeah.
And I think Harry liked it too, which is part of why
Oh
he
yeah, it's
felt
why.
bad about fucking him over that one time.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of intrigue in this book, and it is, and again, part of it is that Harry is thinking smartly.
It's one of the few times he does.
The way he words it is Wile E. Coyote, super genius.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's not right often, but when he is, he seems really smart.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's basically like this book is kind of a victory lap for Harry as a character. Like he's taken enough L's and this book finally gives him a few W's.
Yeah.
Minus the whole like his client dies in the end, but
Mm-hmm.
let me think about details. What else do we want to talk about details wise from this book?
So there is the implication throughout most of it that Lucio has been mind whammied. Molly does bring that up as a possibility.
And the reason that she was able to be mind whammied in the first place, because remember, she is like the head warden, so she's no slouch in the magic department.
She's able to be mind whammied because she's in a young body.
Yes.
Exactly, because she doesn't have her normal defenses up because
So
she's still getting used to the new body.
It's established in this book that as a wizard gets older, their mind basically gets set more in its ways and becomes harder to actively mind whammy.
Mm-hmm.
Lucio, being 200 odd years old at this point, thought she was safe, but because she is in a new body with a new mind.
Well, not new mind, but new body for sure.
New brain.
Mm-hmm.
The implication is that, it all goes into this, facet of mind, soul, and body. What makes a person? And I think Dresden Files very much comes to the conclusion of its souls. It's the soul that makes the person. So I think it's that the corpse taker switches souls.
Yeah.
Rather than minds. But it's either way. Lucio is vulnerable and doesn't realize it.
And so she gets mind whammied.
Yeah. What else is there?
Should we talk about the short story?
Not yet. Not yet. I do want to get to that, but I think we should end with that basically.
What's also interesting about the book is that about Lucio specifically is that she apparently knows Dresden's mother, and because they're roughly contemporaries. And Harry hints that Thomas is his brother, and Lucio catches on pretty instantly and outright calls Margaret Le Fay / Dresden a selfish bitch for that whole going on.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
There's also we kind of glanced over it, but when the Nagloshi takes Thomas, it is from the Wraith household.
No, it's
from
not.
Their
Oh yeah.
No, it's not.
Isn't it?
No.
Isn't
No, it doesn't. It's strict beforehand, I believe.
It's like right outside of it.
The Nagloshi takes Thomas from the storage facility. What the Nagloshi does is tear through the Wraith household to basically deliver the threat.
Offer the ransom.
Yeah.
Offer the ransom threat.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was.
That's
but yeah,
what it is.
basically the Negloshi single-handedly like takes down the Wraith stronghold, more or less, and
Mhm.
has
Also,
Lara Wraith, the most powerful of the White Court vampires, basically like on her knees begging.
Not to mention, the Negloshi decides to torture Thomas by peeling his skin off repeatedly until he's at the brink of death, and then feeding him women until he's back to full health, and then starting the whole process over
Not even
again.
full health, just like barely outside of death's door.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
he brings him to death's door, brings him barely back, and then brings him back to death's door again,
Yeah.
repeatedly.
Yeah, but the whole experience really fucks Thomas up.
Mm.
Understandably so. Also, we've mentioned the wizard site a bit before, but it actually comes into play here because Harry looks at the Negloshi with the wizard sight, and we don't get a description of what he sees, but we do get a reaction from Harry, and he turns into a gibbering wreck.
For about what, an hour or two?
2 or 3 hours.
Several
Yeah.
minutes. Yeah, 2-3 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. Like he basically goes insane for a few hours because of what he saw the Negloshi through his true sight.
Yeah.
He doesn't quite go insane, but he has to focus on rationality to get to a safe place. And once he's there, he basically exposes himself to thinking about the site over and over until he can recover.
Yep.
I believe he ends up with a nosebleed after it as well, just because of the sheer amount of psychic damage it does him.
Yeah.
It's not a fun time.
Mm-hmm.
Not a great time. And because of the fun side effect that is the wizard sight, he's never going to forget it.
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah, he's only ever going to remember it in its most vivid detail.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't even fade. That's definitely one of the things that's like a major drawback of being a wizard in the Dresden Files world.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes you got to use that shit for like your job, and then yeah, sometimes shit gets burned in there, never to be forgotten. Let's see.
Do we want to just get to the island then? Because
Oh yeah, talk about the island a little bit. Talk about the
so
what was it?
basically how the Sanctum invocation is done is that Harry basically summons the personification of the island and then starts throwing punches at it.
Yep.
Magical punches, but yeah.
And it manages to no sell all but the last one, and then apparently Harry landing that hit earned the island's respect.
Yep. He had the
pretty
moxie
rough.
to just land one hit, and the island was like, "Oh, normal people can't do that."
Yeah. Harry words it as, "I punched it in the nose. Now we're friends."
Yep.
He used the classic shonen battle tactic of beating the shit out of people to make friends.
Should point out that when Harry reveals that he's done this to pretty much to people, every wizard who hears it is like, "You did what?"
I punched him in the schnoz. I'm a punch you in the schnoz.
Oh God.
They are rightfully flabbergasted.
Yeah. Like Rashid basically turns up to say, "Look, you're gonna get yourself killed, and I'm not going to let that happen."
Yeah, he has to intervene.
And then whatchamacallit? Harry steps onto the island, reveals his limited intellectus, and Rashid is like, "Oh, Harry." Oh, Harry, you stupid bitch.
Basically.
Yep.
Um, oh, and again, another hilarious moment is that after hearing this, um, the gatekeeper basically goes, "I can't decide whether you are the most magnificent liar I have ever encountered in my life, or you are truly as ignorant as you appear." And Harry basically just points at his head, which is bandaged up after, I think it's the second encounter with the Nagloshi,
Probably.
and just goes, "Dude." And Rashid just bursts out laughing.
Yeah, it's like, can't you tell I'm a bit of an idiot?
Yeah. Because
Yeah, and
basically,
that's the funny thing.
to be fair to Rashid, all of Harry's actions have basically, disrupted the balance of the world and could um, very easily be, the work of the Black Council.
Yeah. And that
So
makes me really want to talk about the short story because
we
like
will
I
get to
think
the short story.
think
A little bit
his
longer.
suspicions were the same foundation as Morgan's suspicions.
Very much so, yes. Very much so.
Yeah.
So, get to the island. As I said, he's challenged the White Council to basically, look, you're either going to listen to what I have to say, or we're going to fight. And they turn up with Ebenezer, the Blackstaff, Listens to Wind, and Ancient Mai, as well as basically a brute squad of wardens.
Yeah.
Including Ramirez, I think, right?
No, Ramirez wasn't there. Ramirez wasn't.
Oh, that's
there.
right. No, it was Ancient Mai's subordinates and stuff.
It was. I believe there was the only warden that really got a description was a Scandinavian warden that Harry could not remember the name of.
Yep.
Classic Harry.
Let me. Yeah. So Harry keeps coming up with different names. So he goes first. He's like, whose name was Bjorg or Jorg or Bjorn? Definitely Scandinavian. Then calls him Warden Bjork, Warden Yorgi, Warden Berserker Gang, and Bjorn Gunnarsson. Should also point out that there is a Warden Thorson mentioned later, and is probably the same guy, so Harry was nowhere close.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he was right in the Scandinavian sense.
He was right in the Scandinavian sense, but I could, it's probably simple to tell. But also funny is the fact that you've got this brute squad of wardens who are basically who've survived the entire Vampire War so far, and are therefore the toughest of the bunch. One of them is holding an umbrella over Ancient Mai.
Yep.
They scare her. She scares them as much as she scares Harry.
Mm-hmm. Understandable, really.
She isn't called Ancient Mai for no reason. I think she's like one of, if not the oldest in the White Council.
Yeah.
Pretty sure she's the oldest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So she's got to have something else prolonging her life besides just like her status as a wizard.
Yeah.
No, I'm pretty sure it might just be that. She just might be old even by wizard standards.
She is old by wizard standards. I think she's like the oldest on the council, apart from Rashid. In chronological
Rashid is over
terms.
1,000, but he has some time fuckery going on. I think.
The point
assistants.
the point is that Rashid spends like a good 75% of his time in the Never Never, and time works differently there.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
Ancient Mai is somewhere in the ballpark of about 400 years old. From what
I have a
gather.
theory that Ancient Mai is actually a lot older than that, and she's the Jade Dragon.
let me check the timeline.
Because I know Ebenezer was old enough to see the French and Indian War.
It was
Ebenezer's like going on 300 years old.
Yeah, ancient Mai born before 1600, over 400 years ago.
Yep. So that puts her as the oldest.
Yeah,
Arthur, I
around
believe,
1700, Ebenezer and the Merlin are born because they're born around the same time.
Yeah, the Merlin is Arthur Langtry is about 300, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
And he's from what, like England?
He's from Britain, yeah.
Yeah.
He has a very British name.
Ebenezer's from Scotland, of course, originally.
No, I don't think so.
Pretty sure he was a colonist.
Yeah, and he ended up in the Ozarks, but he's originally from Scotland. Ebenezer McCoy, he has some Scottish leanings in his diction and his sentence structure.
Just because he's got, Scottish ancestry does not necessarily make him Scottish.
Well, it's more just in the accent and his way of speaking most of the time. Is like sometimes he slips into more Scottish way of speaking, sometimes he's speaking more Ozark. You guys haven't noticed that? No?
No.
He's very much, a... He's a hillbilly. Like, that's the impression I get from him. Like,
that's his main personality for sure.
He definitely has Scottish ancestry, and I would not be surprised if his,
he spent at least most of his life in the Ozarks. That's I will say that. But like you can't rule out that he might have spent the first
he may have spent some
20 years of his life.
Story.
He may have spent some time in Scotland, considering that the White Council headquarters are in Edinburgh, but I don't think he was born there. Anyway, yes.
A debate for another time.
Anyway, yes. Harry, once the White Council appears, the White Court then appears, and Harry then reveals that, hey, I've also invited the Skinwalker to this little shindig, and Ebenezer's like, just looks at him with an expression of, "Are you out of your damned mind?
You did what now?
Are you insane?"
Hey, what now?
And Harry's response is literally, Wile E. Coyote, super genius.
Yeah, Harry do be a dum-dum sometimes. But more often, he's a smart dum-dum.
Yeah. So that's when the battle starts. Vampires and wizards on the same side, because that's when the Black Council summons a bunch of spiders to attack.
Spiders.
Meanwhile, Binder has arrived and is sending his goons after them. Is sending his goons after them as well. So they're fighting on two fronts. Harry and Lara are sent to deal with Binder, which they do. Well, they're hit by a concussion grenade, which stuns Harry and nearly chars Lara. With the help of Billy and Georgia, the Alphas, they managed to take down Binder and weaken Madeline enough that Lara can do her vampire thing on her and, recover.
Do her vampire sex thing on
her. It's not pleasant.
Ain't a pretty thing.
No.
It's one of those examples of family eating family.
Mm-hmm. And it's another example of Binder knowing when to fold them, because Harry helps him get out of there, and Binder goes, "Okay, I'm done now. I'm not fighting anymore."
Oh, speaking of, I think we forgot to mention, but Binder's real name is Ernest Armand Tinwhistle.
Yeah. No wonder he goes by Binder.
Yeah. That's not a name you want being your moniker.
Mm-hmm. His initials spell eat.
Eat.
Unfortunately, then the Nagloshi arrives in the island and heads towards where Morgan is. So Harry has to go after the Nagloshi, and does some real damage to it using Soulfire.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's also...
Well, unfortunately, Harry is basically worn out by that point and collapses before he can land the final blow.
Used too much soul energy.
Shagnasty, which is Harry's name for it, goes to kill Harry, and then Toot Toot fucking
Tries his best.
starts slicing at it with a box cutter.
Toot Toot tries his best.
Toot Toot gets taken out but survives, thankfully. But it bought enough time for Listens to Wind to arrive.
And boy, does he do some magic. I
His
fucking
opening-
love this part so much.
Yep.
His opening line is literally, "Mother says you have no place here. Father says you're ugly." And when Shagnasty says that Listens to Wind, doesn't have the capacity to bind or banish Shagnasty, Listen to Wind says, "I don't plan on binding or banishing you, old ghost. I'm just gonna kick your ass up between your ears."
One hell of a line.
They then have a shapeshifter battle for the ages.
And Listens to Wind takes, like, he keeps pace with him too.
Mm.
Even more so, he kind of leaves him in the dust at certain points.
Yeah, it basically, Shagnasty is having to shift to get away from Listens to Wind, and eventually does just run off. And Listens to Wind does say that, I could have followed him and killed him, but it would have involved innocence, and frankly, there are better things to do on this island.
Yep. Not worth his time to go. And
Yeah.
not worth the potential sacrifice of life.
Mm-hmm.
No collateral damage is usually Listens to Wind's MO.
So yeah, then we get to the trial where Harry pulls off his reveal, which is awesome because it also includes, like, Peabody tries to get out of it by saying the photos could be doctored. Harry then uses Mouse as evidence, and Ancient Mai is like, "Holy shit, that's a temple dog."
Yep. Ancient Mai is wowed by the fact that Harry owns Mouse, or like Mouse chose to live with Harry, basically.
Yes.
Is how the
That
dynamic
Harry
works.
has Mouse's loyalty is a big deal to her.
Yes. That's a good way to put it.
Unfortunately, Peabody decides not to go quietly and summons a mist fiend that literally kills on touch.
Yep. Kills quite a few people in that room, I think.
Kills a good
wanna say
portion. There's
what-
a lot of people in that room, and a lot of them get killed.
Like up to like a quarter to a third of the people in that room died
I think
because
so,
of the
yeah.
Mist Fiend. Yeah.
But the Merlin shows that, he's not just a politician, because he contains the Mist Fiend, and then sends out a telepathic battle plan, which involves him saying, "Rashid, prevent it from moving forward and disintegrating me, if you please."
Yep.
And to Rashid's credit, he does just that.
Yeah. And then sends Harry after Peabody. And Harry would have caught up to Peabody had it not been for Peabody using a young warden who he'd mind whammied as a hostage, basically cutting her femoral artery.
Yep.
I think Lucio arrived to take over the care and let Harry chase after him again. But yes, Morgan catches up, saves Harry from being killed, but dies as well. Which is a shame.
Yep. Turns out his day in the limelight was also a death.
And he does reveal that, it was Lucio who who's the one who killed Lafortier after being mind whammied. So and Morgan took the blame to save her because yes, he was in love with Lucio. Should also point out that Lucio was Morgan's master.
Yeah, his mentor,
which is part of the reason why they didn't hook up.
Yep.
Morgan also reveals that he didn't tell anyone what Molly did to Lucio. And in a really tear-jerking scene, says at the end, says basically his last words were saying, "Do you know why I didn't tell anyone and why I came to you? Because I knew that you knew how it felt to be an innocent man hounded by the wardens." And he dies less than a minute later.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just, again, Morgan in the first, I would say, 2 to 3 books is very much set up as an antagonist for Harry. The next few books, up until, I would say, Deadbeat, he is very much... Harry basically realizes that he's a necessary evil and that
people like him actually keep a lot of people in line.
It's not necessarily that he has anything against Harry particularly, it's just his way of thinking. And then from Deadbeat onwards, he is basically... We're on the same side. He's not a, great guy, but he's doing a necessary service. I don't think I'll ever like him, but, he's not evil by any stretch. But we're now getting into what I've mentioned a couple of times. In the run-up to peace talks, there were a series of microfictions, basically maybe 200-300 words, stories posted.
Yep.
And one of them was a journal entry from Morgan just before the start of Turncoat.
Mm-hmm.
And it recontextualizes everything.
Yeah, because apparently Morgan promised Harry's mother to take care of Harry, but Harry's mentor, Justin Dumorn, got to him first.
Well, so he promised Margaret to protect Harry. He tracked Harry and Malcolm
his father
until Malcolm's death, and is still not sure who killed Malcolm. He arrived less than 10 hours after Harry was placed in the foster system, and Harry just disappeared, magically, physically, and bureaucratically.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And it is implied that I don't think he thinks that Dumorn was responsible for that, but certainly Dumorn got to Harry. Got to Harry before Morgan could after the foster system, and from then on, basically Morgan was never sure that Harry wasn't basically a pawn for the Black Council.
Yeah. And then the journal entry just says at the end that he feels like he was too hard on Harry.
Well, basically, he explains why he did what he did to Harry. Basically saying...
He had to continually test him to make sure he wasn't on the opposing side.
The wording is, I tracked him, I hounded him, I pushed him constantly in an attempt to draw out any controls that may have been in place or any corruption of black magic that he might have been concealing.
Basically, just made sure to keep him on the straight and narrow.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, he ends it by saying, "Perhaps I've been too hard on him. Perhaps I really have become paranoid and mad. Perhaps I've wronged a good man."
And I think by the end of the book,
No, he
he's
is fully aware
he's
that
wrecked.
he
Yeah.
knows that Harry is
Well,
just
no,
an
in the end of the
unfortunate
book,
fucking
he
bastard.
expresses it. He
Yeah.
expresses it to Harry in like much fewer words than the short story does, but the short story kind of fleshes out his feelings that are expressed at the end
Yeah.
of the book.
No, he again, he basically admits that he was wrong to do so.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
which is very big of him. Although he
Yes.
never admitted it to Harry.
No, he does admit it to Harry. It's his dying words.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Admittedly,
but
he
yeah, but
does
it takes
he does it on,
his dying words.
Yeah.
It takes his dying words to admit it to Harry.
Admittedly, he's on his deathbed when he does it, but he still does it. Let's give him props for that. So yeah, it's a sad ending because as much as they have now figured out the traitor, and it explains. So if you remember back in White Knight, the location of a camp, was it White Knight or was it Proven Guilty? One of the two. A location of a camp that only, yeah, no, it was Proven Guilty. Location of a camp that only the Merlin, Morgan, Lucio, and Listens to Window Ebenezer, something like that, one of the other senior council members knew, was revealed. And like everyone was really paranoid about how that could happen. We now know that it was Lucio, having been mind whammied.
I forget what was the exact piece of information that got revealed.
Well,
Where the camp
it's
was?
not actually stated, but as I said, in Proven Guilty, there are only 4 people who know the location of the camp that got attacked. One of them being Lucio. So the implication
Was that the one that got attacked by ghouls?
No.
Yeah. Oh no.
It was the one in Proven Guilty that Michael ended up protecting, I think.
Ah. Mm-hmm.
I believe that's the case. I can't remember exactly. But yes, that's basically the reveal. As I said, it's not actually stated, but you know, the implication is there.
Mm-hmm. Also, it is kind of ironically funny that Morgan is basically out of commission for most of the book because he's one of the strongest wizards on the council.
Yeah.
Because I believe it was in Proven Guilty, again, that he basically just carved a bloody path through the Red Court and almost got the Red King.
Yes, it was.
And,
yeah. And gained a boon from the Summer Council himself, which he used to hide his presence for. I think it was 24 or 48 hours, something like that.
Yeah.
Though Morgan does say, admittedly, it's no donut.
Because I love that callback.
Because yes, that is.
They've been gossiping about it in the Summer Court for the entire time since then.
Yeah, it's basically become a meme in the courts.
Mm-hmm. Which is understandable. It is a very hilarious thing.
Other scenes I want to shout out. Harry goes to Harry is tracking down who hired Graver to investigate him, and comes across a lawyer. Goes to the office building and is stopped by the security guard who refuses to let Harry pass with his staff. And there's a back and forth that is just hilarious, starting with the guard. Sir, I'd appreciate it if you left your club here. It isn't a club, it's a walking stick. 6 feet long. It's traditional Ozark folk art, with dents and nicks all over it. I'm insecure. Get a blanket. Do I get a receipt? Received 1 6-foot traditional Ozark walking club from Mr. Smartass. That's Dr. Smartass. I didn't spend 8 years in insult college to be called Mr. And knowing Harry and Butcher, that was probably a reference to Lord of the Rings.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, that would make sense. There's lots of Lord of the Ring references just throughout the books, so.
Another scene when Harry and Lucio are going to confront Lara Wraith to try and get information. Harry is, being Harry and being quite aggressive in his initial attempts at confrontation. And Lucio is like, this is not how diplomacy is done. Harry just responds, you're in America now. Our idea of diplomacy is showing up with a gun in one hand and a sandwich in the other and asking which you'd prefer. You brought a sandwich? Who do I look like? Kissinger? Oh yeah. When Harry reveals what Peabody had done, Harry describes listens to Wynn's expression. Peabody may not have seen the man turn into a grizzly, but he was bright enough to know that Injun Joe was getting set to adjust another ass to ears ratio.
Oh yeah. Peabody shitting his pants when he gets found out is great.
Yeah.
If everything goes to hell immediately afterwards.
I also want to mention Harry's realization that when because Ancient Mai tells the wardens to arrest Harry, and all 5 of them are like quite cautious about it. And Harry is like, why they've got 3 senior council members for backup. These are 5 experienced wardens who have survived the vampire war so far. Why are they scared of me? Oh wait. And I'm gonna quote verbatim here. And then it hit me. They were dealing with something far more dangerous than me, Harry Dresden, whose battered old Volkswagen was currently in the city impound. They were dealing with the potential demonic Dark Lord Nightmare Warlock they'd been busy fearing since I turned 16. They were dealing with the wizard who had faced the heirs of Kemler riding a zombie dinosaur and emerged victorious from a fight that had flattened Morgan and Captain Lucio before they had even reached it. They were dealing with a man who had dropped a challenge to the entire senior council and who had then actually showed, apparently willing to fight on the shores of an entirely too creepy island in the middle of a freshwater sea.
Yep.
Harry is
A lot of it.
Harry is scary in universe, basically.
Yep.
Yeah, he is. He is terrifying. Not because of what he can actually do, but because of what he's done.
Yeah, Harry, for all of the jokes about him and his competence, on paper, he's a total badass.
Well,
Quite the list of accomplishments.
We'll obviously go into more detail about it when we talk about side jobs, but there is a short story from Thomas's perspective where basically Thomas has to act the villain to hide something from Harry, and so gets to see him in full flow. Obviously, when we're seeing things from Harry's perspective, we know he's basically muddling along, he's sleep deprived, he's beaten up. He can't wait to drink a beer and go to sleep. But when you see him without that perspective, he's fucking scary.
Yeah, it's because he's so good at bluffing too. And he's really good at talking a big game.
Yeah.
There's also a short story from Murphy's perspective where she describes Harry as kind of terrifying.
Y'all.
But yeah, like Harry doesn't seem to realize how intimidating he can actually be.
Yeah.
That's part of why I love him as a character, though, because it's like it's indirect. It's not like he's prideful and boastful and everything. Like he's very self-deprecating and everything, and you only see through his actions that, oh shit, this guy is pretty competent and pretty overpowered.
Yeah.
It's honestly part of the reason I love Rimuru too.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, everything is about that slime.
Right, you need to get off that brain rot. Have brain rot, dude.
Read something new. Read Codex Alara.
Well, I
Codex
read
is
World's
really good.
Finest Assassin, but there's no fair comparison here for that one.
Read Codex Alera. It's by the same author as Dresden Files.
Yeah.
I remember I tried reading it, and I never really got into it, Jack.
Try
The first
again.
book is the weakest book by far. You need to get through the first book to get to the good shit.
Try again. You'll manage it. In
Fair.
fact, you know what? Fuck it. After we end the stream, I'm gonna reread them. I feel like it.
I have to read more Berserk after the stream,
Hmm.
and also the short story.
Yeah. So is there anything? Unfortunately, Thomas's ordeal has affected him, and he's gone back to the regular White Court way of doing things, of feeding on people.
More out
So
of necessity
it's-
than anything else, because he got tortured so bad.
It's implied that part of it is actually so he can re-ingratiate himself with the White Court.
Yeah.
Because obviously, since Blood Rights, he's basically been on the out and out with them, and this is he's using this as an opportunity to get back in with them. It's implied. There's nothing ever really stated, and part of it is just that Thomas went through a horrific ordeal and just is so tired now, tired of doing things the way he'd been previously doing them. But there is that implication that he is that this is a bluff, basically, or he's
Something
using
else-
it as an opportunity, basically.
Something unrelated to note is that this book is probably the most directly involved the Black Council has been so far in the overarching story,
Yeah.
and we still know very little about it.
They
Yeah.
usually don't fuck with Harry, that's why.
Well, they've been using cat's paws for most of the series.
Yeah.
Victor Spells, Leonard Kravnos, Aurora.
The FBI
FBI.
werewolves.
But yeah, they haven't been directly involved much. Cal is suspected to be one of their agents.
Yeah.
And
I think
know
it's
Victoria
mostly just
Malmora
because
was
at this
definitely one
point-
of their agents.
I think just at this point, it's because Harry has burned through most of their pawns.
Well, yeah,
Probably not most of them, but probably their most.
Harry keeps foiling their
immediately
fucking
visible to
plans. Yeah, Harry keeps
Yeah.
foiling their plans, so they're taking a more direct approach.
Yeah.
What are you guys doing? Foiling my plans?
And to be fair, this wasn't a plan that was meant to involve Harry. The only reason Harry got involved is because Morgan went to him. Is there anything else? Oh yeah. When Harry and Listens to Wind meet back up with Ebenezer, Listens to Wind notes that Toot Toot taking on Shagnasty was quite the sight. A little guy taking on a creature so far outside of his weight class, and Ebenezer just goes, "Yeah, wonder where the pixie learned that."
I also like the bit where Harry interacts with some of the other wardens, and it's like he calls Bill, "Hey Bill, it's Dresden." Harry. Bill's always polite to me. He saw me do something scary once.
Yeah,
Referring
but
to him absolutely slaughtering those ghouls.
yeah, but this is the book that introduces probably my favorite warden, Chandler.
Chandler is
aka
amazing.
Steed. As Harry calls him Steed.
Yeah, I absolutely love Chandler, and it is solely
Chandler-
because he's British. not just British, but British as fuck.
I mean,
Yeah, he's not Cockney British. He's fancy British.
Yeah. He says the sheer power of his concentrated fashion would obliterate visitors on sight if there were 5 of
Yeah. I am freezing off my well-tailored ass.
him. He is
Um,
very cocky about his British fineness.
yeah. We should also mention, we haven't actually mentioned this up until this point. The alphas do play a part in this book, and it's quite sad because,
Yeah, one of them gets killed by
yeah,
Shag Nasty.
so when after Harry sees Shag Nasty with his sight, he goes to Will and George's place as basically a safe space. Shag Nasty
To have his
arrives.
little mental breakdown.
Yeah, Shag Nasty. Once he recovers, Shag Nasty arrives. Um, kills. Give me a second to remember
Kirby.
the names.
It's Kirby.
Kirby and severely injures Andy.
Yep.
But basically, this is a turning point for Will and Georgia, where Harry treats them as not necessarily equals, but as more than just kids playing werewolves.
Yeah.
But there's a very nice ending to the book because apparently Kirby was the group's dungeon master, basically. Because yes, Harry would basically play D&D with the alphas.
Yes, because his nerd boner is longer, harder, and more turgid than theirs.
I was going to get to that. So he plays D&D with them, but Kirby was their DM. So the next session, Harry brings along Butters, who, yes, is introduced as having a geek penis that is longer, thicker, and more turgid than any of ours.
Yeah. That is Butters in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Boner jokes.
Butters also gets to go full Dr. McCoy early in the book as well, after looking after Morgan.
Oh, yeah. You talking about Bones?
Yeah, Bones McCoy rather than Ebenezer.
Yeah. It's overall a good book.
No, both of these are
These two are like two of the best books of the series, I think. This is like when it really hit its stride, I think.
I wouldn't say that. I think it hit its stride at Deadbeat. At the latest.
Well,
at the earliest,
it started picking up steam at what was it? Great Peril.
For me,
Deadbeat is where it's truly got great.
For me, the earliest is Summer Night. The latest is Deadbeat.
Yeah. I mean, Great Peril has some signs of good greatness to it, but
it's a good book, but I just struggle to read it because it is probably the most depressing ending.
Yeah, that's
second most depressing ending. Second most depressing ending.
Oh yeah. We'll get to that.
I almost don't want to talk about that part, but we got a while to go before we get there, so maybe I'll come to terms with it by then. Yeah.
Second or third most depressing ending.
Yeah. Honestly, I might have an audio clip for that if I can manage it.
But next time we talk about Dresden, it'll be time to face the changes.
Yep. Up until now, well, we covered the first 6 books 3x3. Since then, we've been doing 2x2.
We did the first. No, we only did the first 3 books, three at a time.
Oh wow! Else
has been two
okay, yeah, first 3 books and then 2x2. Changes we are discussing on its own because it's basically the end of what do you want to call it? Act 1, I would say.
No, I'd say Act 1 ended with probably with Deadbeat. It's the end of the second act of the story.
I don't know, because I think
it's the midpoint of the overarching story is the thing.
I would say changes is the end of Act 1, and then Battleground is the end of Act 2.
I could see that. Depends on if we're using a 3 or 5 act structure. You're using a
Yeah.
5 act structure.
Because I
Changes
think
at the end of Act 2.
because
That's semantics, Jack, and you know it.
I understand why I would say Deadbeat could be the end of Act 1, but I think that to be the end of an act, things need to change significantly. And
Changes lives up to the title.
there massive changes happen by the end of Changes. Massive changes happen at the end of Battleground.
Mm-hmm.
They are climaxes to story elements.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think Deadbeat is that. If it makes you feel any better, I would say Act 1 actually only really begins with Grave Peril. Because
the first 2 are kind of a prologue.
Yeah, that's what I would say. And this is a slight spoiler for Changes, sort of, but Act 1 is the Vampire War.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that's all we can, unless either of you have any last words to say about either Turncoat or Small Favor, we can.
Oh, I do love the bit in the council room where Harry just sees the Merlin with a sandwich.
Yeah. There's also a funny moment. There's also a funny moment just after that where the Merlin is like is basically saying, why should I accept your help to prove Morgan innocent? And Harry just goes, because your balls are in a vice and I'm the only one who can pull them out. Okay, that came out a little more homoerotic than I intended.
Indeed.
Anything else? I mean, I don't think there is.
No.
Just going through stuff to make sure. Oh, we get. Is this the first instance we get of Ebenezer's like true and undying hatred for the White Court?
I don't know if it's the first, but it's the first time it's really prominent, at the very least.
Because he is very hostile to Lara.
I mean, I don't entirely blame him. Lara is kind of a monster.
Yeah.
I think it's also his way of reminding himself that she's a monster, because quite often in his narrative, he forgets that she's a monster.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is quite a neat little bit of nugget of info. All of the animal forms assumed by the Nagloshi and Listens to Wind were indigenous to North America.
That's pretty rad.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's everything. Thank you everybody for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed this latest look into the Dresden Files, which is a favorite series of all of ours.
Oh yeah, it's great.
In terms of future stuff, tomorrow should be more D&D. We are in a bit of a bind. But we should be okay. Tuesday, we're continuing Persona 4 Golden. I have leveled off screen, and so we should now be ready for do the boss battles, or at least get close to the boss battles. I hope we'll be ready for the boss. I think we should be.
Yeah.
Thursday, continuing Ace Attorney in the middle of Case 3. It's not good. I've also looked up had a look at John Armstrong's wiki entry, and oh boy, it's not great. I didn't spoil myself on anything, but it wasn't great. And then next Saturday, I believe it is the mid-season check-in for the summer anime season.
Yep.
Should be.
Oh, fuck, the season's so dry.
Yep, should be an interesting one. We are also going to say now, we are likely going to institute a 15-minute time limit for each discussion of a show.
Probably a good idea.
Unless we're instituting a double time limit. 15 minutes if like we're not on a general time limit, as we have been on some occasions. 10 minutes for if we are, and for the finale, because obviously we also then have to go and do the awards. Because let's be honest, if we did the same thing we did for the 3+ episode check-in for the finale stream, we would be there for 5 hours. No, closer to 6 hours.
Yeah.
The best part of 6 hours. So we can't do that every time, especially not for the finale stream. So yeah, we're gonna institute that limit basically. I don't think it shouldn't affect things too massively, but you know we'll see how we do. Anyway, again, thank you everybody for watching. Please do give us a follow here on Twitch and on Twitter. Otherwise, we hope to see you tomorrow for more D&D. Good night.
Later.